Ways to get intimacy to grow in a relationship. Can this actually be done? Stay tuned. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Arica Angelo, and I'm the woman that helps you become the kind of man that women just can't resist, but while not losing yourself in the process, nor do you want to lose her. So if you're new here, I highly encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because that will let YouTube know, hey, this guy really wants to get these videos. All right, so how do we grow intimacy in a relationship? One of the ways that we know that we're not growing intimacy in a relationship is we're very caught up on the minutia of life. We're very caught up in things that don't matter, very symptomatic things that, what other people think, other people's opinions, societal expectations, our work, all of the things that just keep the busyness of life going, the busyness of thoughts going. But we're not actually getting to know the person for who they are. We don't know what they're afraid of. We don't know what their dreams are. We don't know what their hopes and ambitions are. We don't know what keeps them awake at night. We don't know what makes them excited to get out of the bed in the morning. All of those kind of intimate questions, we don't have any clue of. That is a sign that there's not a lot of intimacy being cultivated in the relationship. Now, we all know, hopefully we know this, that to make a relationship grow, it requires intimacy. Intimacy is that real connection. In fact, I'm convinced that that's why a lot of relationships fall apart, is because they lose that intimacy. One person stops contributing to the connection in the relationship, or the two people get very disassociated from what makes a relationship actually work, what actually makes it thrive, what actually makes it feel like they're living life to full capacity. So what do you do to change this? How do you build? How do you grow intimacy? The way that we do that is through speaking through the heart. It's through connecting from the heart. And we use that good old tool called what? Vulnerability. We use vulnerability to be able to share, those aspects of us that maybe we don't share with the rest of the world. We don't share with our work colleagues. We don't share even maybe sometimes with our family. But there are those things that only we know that we may not often share with the rest of the world. And so we do that by taking risk, by taking chances, by opening ourselves up, hoping that we can trust that other person, hoping that, when we say this, they're not going to think we're crazy. And so a lot of us stay out of that area. We just want to stay in the gray zone as opposed to going to the black or the white, something that's more polarizing. Because why? We're less likely to get rejected. That's why most people avoid vulnerability. It's why we avoid intimacy in a relationship. It's why we stay myopically focused on work, what we read on Facebook, what's going on, what meme we read, as opposed to just saying, hey, this is how my day went today. And I felt really excited when I knew that this opportunity was coming, or it made me dream of the possibilities of what my future could become. Hey guys, no matter where you are in your journey with women, I've got you covered with one of my courses. So make sure that you check these courses out at aricaangelo.com. So instead of having those conversations, we focus on the things that actually don't really matter. The things that circulate in our mind, the things that pull us emotionally, those are the things that we want to talk about. What's going on in here? What are we dreaming about? What are we aspiring to? What are our hopes? What are those adventures that we want to go on that we've not told anyone else about? You see, it's having that sort of heart conversation, that heart communication that flows through vulnerability. Now, if you're not used to being vulnerable with people, this may be a little tricky for you. This may be hard for you. In fact, for most men, vulnerability is really hard. How many times do I work with men as clients who have all told me that, in their past and their upbringing that vulnerability was not welcome, that it was actually shamed. And most men in today's society still feel shamed around opening up, or they feel lost around it. And so many questions come to me of like, what's the boundary? When do I share too much? When do I share too little? And so there's a lot of confusion for vulnerability with men. So that's why I really encourage you. I created this online program to help men really get full capacity of what vulnerability is. How does that play out in a relationship? How do you actually get vulnerable with someone? How do you get vulnerable with yourself? And when is it going too far? So if you're kind of one of those guys and you're like, I would love to be able to do this, Arica, I just don't know how, or I'm scared, so I don't even try because I don't know how, and that's what scares me, is that I don't know how, then I really encourage you, my darling, to get that vulnerability program, because that's really going to help you with this new skill set, which is what establishes intimacy. It's what grows intimacy in a relationship. Now, here's the sneaky thing about vulnerability that I think many of us kind of get like, oh, I did it, and then that's it. Is this. I tried vulnerability once in my relationship. I've tried vulnerability twice. I was vulnerable last summer with my partner. Vulnerability is not something that you just try on for size. Vulnerability is a lifestyle. It is a posture. It is a movement of the heart that we daily, that word right there, we daily engage in. So it's not like I was just vulnerable this one time in my life and it didn't work. No. It's like saying, I breathed there one time and I didn't like the quality, so I quit doing that. Well, that will kill you. And it's the same thing that kills intimacy, is when people try on vulnerability, but they don't continue on with it. And most people don't continue on with it because they've had a bad experience. Well, hey, we've all had bad experiences. I've had bad experiences with food. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop eating, because if I don't stop eating, I die. It's the same thing. If you stop vulnerability, your relationship, it dies. So I really want to encourage you, get a hold of that online program, because it's really going to give you the tools, the skill set, the communication ability to be able to facilitate this in your relationship, so that you have that intimacy and that it's continuously growing and deepening, and the connection becomes exciting, it becomes alive, it's electric, it's a roller coaster of like, we are living together. We're not just living in the gray zone anymore. Our life is in full vibrancy. It's like the Wizard of Oz, from black and white into color. That's what vulnerability does for a relationship. So listen, you, my dear, you have what it takes. You have this inside of you. I just want to remind you of that. In this moment, you need to know this, that you have the ability. You have the capacity to do this. Quit selling yourself short, okay? So listen, you're loved. You are so loved in this process. And this is really going to help facilitate more love in your life, because it's going to give people an opportunity to really see and be mesmerized, to really know the real essence of who you are. I hope you take me up on this offer. I'll see you in my next video. And if this really resonated with you, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. Guys, I love you so much, and I can't wait to meet you in my next video. You stay tuned and take care of that beautiful heart of yours.